Welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. Today, we have an incredible journey to share with you. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya, and I'm so grateful that you're here listening to this podcast episode and would love for you to share this episode with your friends, your family, and your workmates. And if you haven't already done so, please follow this podcast so we don't miss any future episodes and we can get this out to the wider community. Today, it's my absolute pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to this podcast interview. Today's guest is Dawn Rivers. I'm thrilled to announce her as our guest on this podcast episode. She's a trailblazer in the world of women's empowerment and entrepreneurship. Dawn is a visionary founder of DMR Coaching and Consulting, where she dedicates herself to guiding women on their journey from burnout to overwhelm to thriving success. Through her groundbreaking program, the Awaken Woman Academy, Dawn helps women harness the power of movement, mindfulness, and mindset to lead with confidence, create sustainable habits, and achieve long-term success both professionally and personally. Her mission is to empower women globally to create financial freedom, build legacies, and make a lasting societal impact by starting and owning successful global small businesses. Based in Cleveland, Ohio, in the United States, Dawn hosts transformative retreats and is a sought-after speaker, inspiring women to live abundantly and lead with purpose. Today, she'll share her insights into her three pillars of empowerment and how they can help you unlock your full potential. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Dawn M. Rivers. Welcome, Dawn, to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast.
Thank you. It's always so humbling to hear your biography spoken back to you. You're like, oh, that's me. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely, that's you.
That is me.
Yeah, and what a vision. It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Dawn M. Rivers. Like, where did you come from? How did you get here? How did you get to planet Earth? And what was your journey up until this point like?
Sure, because it's been a journey. So right now I'm doing a countdown, 55 days until I'm 55 on September 21st, AKA Dawn Timber. So one beautiful Sunday night in September in a small town in Virginia, United States, I was born. My parents were separated, and my mom had left my dad, moved back to her little hill country town in Virginia, and boom, here I come, this little ray of sunshine. But she told me a story about my name, and then I was like, wait, when she told a different story to my kids, I was like, that's not the story that I thought. So my name, Dawn, means break of day or the beginning of the day. And there was, I guess, another lady who was having children, and she had twins, and one was named Day and the other was named Dawn. And my mom was like, "Ooh, I like Dawn." So growing up, people called me Don, like D-O-N instead of Dawn, like you pronounced it correctly. And I hated my name forever because I was like, first of all, it's one syllable. Secondly, you can't make it a nickname out of it. Third, nobody pronounces it right. I was like, come on now. Come on. Y'all got to do better. So it took me a while for me to embrace my name. And when I was growing up, I was the only Dawn. Like when you would go in the United States, they have like little gas stations. You could buy keychains or magnets or postcards or whatever. And they would always have like name keychains. And you would spin it around to find your name. Your name, of course, is there. Anthony's there. Dawn is not there. Right? And I was like, it was never a choice. So that was the beginning of my journey. But I was just like, okay. So maybe when I was 10 years old, my dad bought me a necklace that had my name on it. That changed the game. I was like, okay, I am a superstar. I embrace my name. So it took me until 10 and then again until much later to be okay with Dawn. So that's kind of like my beginning. And to get to where we are here, lots and lots of journeys of up and down, around the mountain, to seeing cloudy skies and thunderstorms and hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes to finally having the dawn of the day rise again and the sunshine.
Mm,
So we're going to talk more about how I got here later. That's
yeah.
part of this platform.
Well, it's quite fitting that you're joining me today on this podcast when it's dawn here. And hey, and I'm talking with Dawn when it's dawn. So there you go. Um, yeah, absolutely. It's what a yeah. I can imagine. Like, I mean, I have a similar story in the sense that when I was born, my parents were going to call me an Indian name. Now I don't have an Indian name, and neither does my brother. I'm
Really?
Anthony, and my brother is Hamish. Neither of us have middle names, but the name they were going to call me was Snehal, yes, which is Snehal, and in Indian it means love.
Oh.
Um, but then they thought people might call him Snail. So,
Oh,
and my dad's name
they
was
didn't do that.
no, and my dad's name was Anthony. Sorry, Tony. So they went, let's call him Anthony. And I'm glad they did because I don't think I would have loved the name Snail.
Now,
So let's talk a
yeah.
little bit about your program. So or what you do? What inspired you to create the Awaken Woman Academy, and how has it evolved since its inception?
Well, it hasn't evolved yet because I'm just now launching it. I'm so excited about it. So I've been doing one-on-one coaching for several years, as well as like mentoring. And I felt like a better use of what I can share needs to be given to more people at like at one time. And as you evolve, you're like, yeah, it's hard to do more than maybe 3, 4, 5, if possible 10 coaching clients a month. And I was like, well, what if I had a group of them all together and help them move along the path, as I call it, the path to the awakened woman, on their journey to have accountability with one another, have a community with one another, give feedback together, and have benchmarks that they can celebrate. So that's where it came from. Because when I used to own a yoga studio, it was a place where people would gather. They would come because it looked good, felt good, smelled good. They would learn things they wanted to share. They had some connections together. Sometimes we had dinners as a community. And I thought this would be a continuation of what I created so long ago.
Mm, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your yoga journey. I'm quite interested in hearing a little bit about that.
About my yoga journey, let me get my
Yeah.
fan out because y'all, I don't, for some of those who might see this and the other ones who don't know, it's hot today and our air conditioning is not working very well in our home. But nevertheless, so back in 1999, way long ago, I was part of a campus ministry in college. That's when 1987. And somebody told me I would be a light on a hill. And I was like, okay. And they prophesied, and I put that to the back. So in 1999, I was married. I was a young mother. I was stressed out. I was a school librarian. And I heard that yoga was good for you. And I was like, okay. It was good for stress, good for settling the mind, stuff like that. But I didn't really know anything about it. I'm a 29-year-old woman trying to just survive. Went to the public library, found a VHS tape, put it into the VCR. There's this man named Rodney Yee. I call him Rodney Yee, the OG, the gangster yogi. He's been around for decades. And he would be sitting like in Hawaii on the sand or in a field of grass. And he looked so calm and peaceful. And I was like, I want some of that. So I would practice in my basement. And PBS, our public broadcasting station, would have early morning yoga. I would do that. Um, and back in the 90s, gym membership was kind of exclusive. You had to pay a lot of money to become a gym member. And our school had like a collective. And somebody was dropping out, and they were like, we need another person so we can keep this like group membership to keep our costs down. And I was like, I'll join. So I joined this membership, and they had yoga. And I was like, oh, I got this. I've been practicing yoga like 3, 4 years now in my basement, watching VHS tapes. I'm going to go to this gym and practice yoga with them. And I was like, oh, I love practicing yoga with other people. there's something about this. The energetic exchange in being a room where people are breathing and moving together just changed the game. So a couple years after that, power yoga became a thing.
Mm.
Power vinyasa yoga, very athletic. And a local studio was having one of those deals like $15 for a week of yoga. And I said, I'm going every day because I need to get my $15 worth. Because at the time, I didn't have a growth mindset. I didn't have an abundance mindset. I had a broke ass mindset.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I went every single day on spring break and I
Yeah.
said, oh, whoa. It was 90 minutes, 90 degrees, like it is right now in my house. And I would come home and sleep for 2.5 hours. It kicked my behind, but I loved it, Anthony. I loved it. And so that summer, they had a deal. It was like, I don't know, almost 3 months of yoga for $99. I went. At the end of that, they sent me a message through Facebook saying, do you want to be a karma yogi? So in this aspect, it meant like if you clean the bathrooms in the studio, you'll get a free class. I said, I'm all for that. So I was a karma yogi for about 3 years. Then I became a desk yogi for 5 years. And during that time, I saw people becoming yoga teachers. And I was like, I think I want to be a yoga teacher.
Mm.
Lo and behold, I decided to get a divorce as well. So I was divorcing because whenever you make a big change in your life, it's probably preempted by something else.
Mm.
So I got divorced on December 31st, 2012. And on January 7th, I started yoga teacher training of 2013. And by the end of May, I became a yoga teacher. During yoga teacher training, we had to write down goals. And one of my 5-year goals was to own a yoga studio. So in 2018, 5 years later, I opened Daybreak Yoga.
Nice. Very good. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. Um,
Yes.
when I was in the boarding school in ashram in India, and I've shared this with you before in our chats, uh, yoga was one of the things that we used to do there as well. And my cousin is actually a hot yoga teacher in the capital in Wellington, here in New Zealand. And so,
Really? I didn't know
yeah,
that part.
yeah. So I've never, I don't know if I could do hot yoga because that'd be really,
Oh, I can't
really
do it
hot.
anymore. I'm over here hot already. No, I don't.
Exactly. Okay, so can you share a little bit about the transformative story from your coaching experience and that highlights the power of movement, mindfulness, and mindset?
Absolutely. So when I was going through my divorce in 2012, I was 42. I turned 42. And I wrote a list called 42 Things for My 42nd Year because I was stuck in fear. I was stuck in overwhelm, doubt, insecurity, lack mindset, all of the things like my root chakra, which I didn't know what it was back then, but that was not healed. It was totally unbalanced. And I was coming out of a space of um, like darkness. So I said, I'm gonna make this list. And people were like, Dawn, are you making like a bucket list? I said, no, I'm 42. It's not a bucket list. So instead, it was like a freedom list. I wanted to break free from fear, free from expectations, free from people pleasing, free from um, just being the person who was the small one behind the scenes. So I did things like I flew a plane. I jumped out of a plane. I did a high ropes course. I went whitewater rafting. I went to concerts alone. I went to dinner alone, movies alone. I read my Bible every day. I made my bed. I was nice to my brother. But in the end, I actually did not finish all 42 things that I put on the list. But at the same time, I was reading a book by an evangelist. Her name is Joyce Meyer, and the book is called Battlefield of the Mind. And she said, we believe what we say more than anybody else. So my mantra at the time was, I hate my life. And that was on repeat. That was moving through my mind, my body, my spirit, my environment. And I was like, let me just try it out. Let me just say, I love my life. So I wrote it down on paper, stuck it on my mirror in my bathroom, put it on the refrigerator, put it on the dashboard of my car, and I would just say it. So I'm doing these 42 things for my 42nd year. I'm changing the thoughts in my head to, I love my life. I spoke out these words. I love my life. I start to do things to help me love my life. So I changed my thoughts. I changed my words. I changed my mind, which changed my life. So a year later, I said, oh, I love my life. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Like, it was revolutionary. So the path to the awakened woman, which comes into the Awakened Woman Academy, is to help people learn that words have power and they become things. So you have to
Absolutely.
start by changing the thoughts,
Mm,
change the words that come out of your mouth. You can change your mind on how you want to live, where you want to live, who you want to live with, what you want to do for a living. That's changing your mind. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. Putting up the boundaries, creating better connections with people, and then your life will truly alchemize into the life that you dreamt of when you were a kid, because we forget.
mm, mm.
We forget.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, you're totally right. Our words have so much power, and the Bible talks about that as well. And
It does.
we're sowing seeds. Every time we speak, we're actually sowing seeds that are going to grow, right? And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how your thoughts and your actions and your emotions create your current reality. And so if you want to change your current reality, then change your thoughts, change your actions, and change your emotions. And that's played since I've been following him. That's something that I'm consciously live my life with. And I think if people were a little bit more conscious in their life, living a conscious life, and collectively and speaking good things into your life, speaking positive words into your life, but also collectively loving each other, this world would be an amazing place to be in. It already is an amazing place, but imagine how much more amazing it would be in terms of relating with each other and connecting with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm about to do an episode this week around my role is around business engagement. Like what I'm going to be doing is talking generally from to people in business, but also in personal relationships. Because at the end of the day, we are all human. We are human beings, and we need to be. And a relationship, whether it's work or personal, is same.
Mhm.
You've got to be the same in both areas of your life. You can't be.
Most likely.
Yeah. Let's go to the
Can
next
I just
question.
say one other thing that was connected to what you were saying about living consciously? And we were
Mm,
talking about Jay Shetty before we
mm,
got on the call. And he
mm,
says on purpose, right?
mhm,
So living consciously, living on purpose, living with insight, those are all the same thing. Like, I believe that there are certain principles that cross over religion,
mhm,
culture, socioeconomics, and even though they might call it different things, it's still really the same thing. So
mhm,
this energetic movement, the idea of words having power, is from probably every religion, right? We speak into things. We are co-creators, right? Our bodies can create human beings. We have these thoughts that we can create and make into things. Like, you were like, I want to make a podcast.
mm.
I want to do this. I want to have this collective. And you have bigger and bigger ideas. And the more you speak them out, the more you're sending them out into the universe. And God is like, here you go, and
Mhm.
throws it back,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
150% agree. And I'm looking forward to the future because it's going to be amazing.
Yes. Just
Uh,
not this hot, guys. Just not this hot. Woo!
exactly.
I'm
Uh,
sorry. I don't mean to be glistening, sweating. Yeah.
yeah. Talking about Jay Shetty, I was listening to his podcast back in 2018. I think it was about 6 or 7
Oh,
years ago. And
wow.
um, and I remember sitting here in my lounge on New Year's Eve, and I was like, God, universe, why am I here? What's my purpose? Well, I was frustrated, and it was dark because hadn't turned the light on, and the sun had gone down, so I was sitting in the dark, and then almost like my TV lit up, and there was a photo on the TV, and I saw myself standing on stage speaking to a multitude of people, And on one side of the stage, I had coaches and mentors working with me. And on the other side, I had consultants working with me. And on the stage were all the great speakers and influencers like Jay Shetty and Lewis Howes and Rob Dial and Tony Robbins and Mel Robb. All these people were there with me on stage. And I was like, wow. And so I've held on to that vision. And like you were prophesied over, I had a prophecy years ago from a pastor from Guatemala that I have a spirit of being a pioneer.
Mm.
And yeah, and that that is and that leads me to this point where I am effectively guiding people, through this podcast in their lives. I went on the coaching journey myself, and I came to the conclusion that actually being an influencer and a public speaker is where I want to be.
I love it.
So yeah, people, if you're watching this, watch what you say. Check your thoughts, catch them first, check your thoughts, and then change your thoughts. Same thing with your words, and same thing with your emotions. And don't be afraid to connect with yourself, with your emotions, because when you connect internally rather than looking externally, magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Yes,
That's
I
good.
agree.
Yeah, you agree?
Well, so part of the transformation that I was going through, um, of I would say from unhappiness, of being like a broken person, being a
Mm,
person in bondage to getting to happy, whole, and free, I had a yellow summer. And so I didn't again know anything about the chakras back then, but yellow is correlated to your solar plexus or your Manipura chakra, and
mm,
it's in your internal like solar, internal sun, internal power, internal place of like knowing who you are. And I was like, when I look back and I did this reflection, I said, "Oh, wait a minute. You mean I was creating power?" Because what I did for one full summer, I wore yellow every single day. And yellow's not my color. My color is pink. I have on a pink shirt. My rug is pink. My chair is pink. This fan is not pink, but I do have a pink fan. I have pink crystals on my
pink flowers behind you.
pink flower, right? Pink, pink, and pink.
Yeah.
So I tried yellow, and the energy of the yellow changed my entire summer. Other people joined because Instagram was starting to be a thing, Facebook was a thing, and I would post like, "Hey, here I am." And if I saw somebody who was driving a yellow car, I asked, "Could I drive it?" If they were riding a bike, they had on a yellow shirt or clothing or whatever, I would take pictures with them and post it. And it became a thing across like globally, because I had friends that were in other countries and they would post wearing yellow too. And this was a part of me saying, "Oh, there's actually something in me that can create community on something fun."
Mm,
Because to me, happiness and joy are pretty much the same thing. They're cousins. Because some people say you can't be happy, or, like joy is always there. I don't, those are semantics. If you look it up in the dictionary, they're synonyms for one another. So joy, happiness, peace, excitement, all these feelings can evolve. And when you're like that, when you're on fire, people are going to be drawn to you, right? They're like, what's no one doing? Wait a minute, hold on, what is that over there? They want to be a part, and they were. So that helped me see that whenever I have something from this genuine excitement,
mm.
people want to connect with me. And that will help me be their guide on their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the energy that you're putting out, right? When you're vibrating energetically, the the energy that you're putting out is contagious, and people see. And I've been on dates, or I've been in situations where people say, "I love your energy. I love that you're so
Mhm.
warm and you're so smiley," and so it's important that to check yourself and go, what energy am I putting out, and who am I becoming? And again, I'm going to quote Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he says that because I love Dr. Joe Dispenza, so he says,
It's all good. I've read his books too.
yeah,
Mhm.
he says to be the future of self, your future self, you have to change. You can't be the same person that you are and expect to be a different version of yourself. And so it's important to do the work. It's important to look internally. And interesting thing. I was at an event yesterday, like it was an HR, a people culture event, all day workshop, and my team leader and I were sitting with all the senior leaders on the table. And I happened to have a chat with the head of people services, with the general manager. And, we talked a lot about different things around, spirituality. We talked about lots of different topics. And it was just so refreshing being able to sit with a senior leader and talk about people stuff, not work stuff. And I said to her, I said, I want to change this organization from within. I want to change. I want to be involved in a transformative role where I'm influencing and changing people, helping people change at a human level, not what they do. That just comes. That's part of this. It's a skill that you've learned, but how to be human, how to be a collective that is joined up, that is loving, that is caring, that is empathetic, that is compassionate. And she said to me, "You need to come and talk to my team." And so I was, I was like, "Absolutely, you name it, I'll be there." Yeah. So our energy, how we show up every day, and for me, it's like, what difference can I make in my world today? That's how I live my life. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's move on to you again.
Okay, back to me.
You're the star of the show. So how do you define empowerment, and why is it so crucial for women, especially in entrepreneurship?
Oh my goodness. So I am an African American woman, for those who are listening and not watching. And from the United States, there are centuries of injustices upon women of African ancestry and disempowerment. And we are collectively the most educated group in the United States. We hold higher degrees in mass compared to other people. Our percentages are outstanding, but we continue to try to prove ourselves by getting another degree or doing another training or getting a certificate or learning another skill. And it's not always embraced, celebrated, or even used to help us in our own jobs, our careers. There's nepotism, there is white supremacy that will hire somebody who is not even close to as qualified as you are, but they look like the boss, or they look like the boss's wife or husband, and they're hired. So for me, the empowerment is about knowing your worth and knowing that whatever you have, you can actually turn it into a business. Because almost every Black woman in America that I know, she has a skill that is marketable, valuable, and can be profitable. She just doesn't know how to bring it forth, right? Because she's been studying everything else. We've been told to get a good job and, good benefits and stay in that job for 30 years, 35 years. So like when I quit being a school librarian after 20 years, they said, well, what about this? You're going to leave, but you were such a great librarian. I was like, can I just have somebody who tells me, I'm happy for you. I wish you well on your journey. And that was hard for them because they were afraid. And I want to be the person who empowers them past fear to face everything and rise, right? Look at fear in the eye and say, I'm gonna just do it anyway. Because I have this collective group of awakened women, oops, my thumbs up, awakened women behind me who are going to say, we got your back. Dawn is here with us. She's our guide on this journey, and she's already gone down this path. It's going to be okay. So that's what empowerment is for me, to help women know that they have the skills. They just need to get past the fear.
Mm, mm.
Take a chance.
Yeah,
Take a chance on yourself.
yeah. And you must see people with all types of different fears, right? And
Oh,
and yeah, I mean other meaning of that acronym fear is false evidence appearing
it's
real.
appearing real.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And so
You and I are the same. we've read the same things. We've been through some of the same. Yes.
yes, absolutely. So what's the biggest challenges that women face when they're trying to overcome burnout and overwhelm, and how can they address these challenges?
So I created 3 archetypes based on the women that I've worked with. And one, she's named Stagnant Stella. So if we think of stagnant, we think of stale, we think of stuck, we think of overwhelmed, we think of the inability to make rational decisions. It's just too many things. And that happens to all of us. And I'm not saying that you never go back to any of these stages, but she's the one who she will just stop in her tracks and just say, I can't do it. I don't want to do, this is fine. She likes a routine. She has this brain of a reptile. She is like in the survival mode. She hasn't evolved to the next space. And then we have Searching Serena. And she has like this monkey mind. She's looking at this, looking at that. Like, oh, I should do this. I should take this course. I'm going to run 5 miles. I'm going to drink a whole gallon of water. I don't know what you guys call it over there, but in the United States, we don't know anything but the
A
book
liter,
of Americans. Okay, there.
a liter of water.
Yes.
Yeah,
A liter of water.
yeah.
I'm going to meditate for an hour every day. She's got this whole list. And then when she can't accomplish it, she goes back to being stagnant Stella. So she's searching for answers because she knows there's something out there to make her life happy, whole, and free.
Mm,
She has the awakening that's budding. And then
mm,
we have Thriving Teresa. Thriving Teresa has done the work. She has put up the boundaries at work. She has a set of goals that she can check off. She has her KPIs that she tracks into. And she does one thing at a time because she knows that consistency is better than perfection. And she takes time to celebrate. It's a little hard for her because she was told as a girl, don't be proudful. Pride comes before the fall. You know, all of these negative things about celebrating herself. Oh, you think you're better than me. So she has to learn that it's okay to celebrate you.
mm.
So in this journey, these women are seeing themselves like, oh, that is me. I'm a stagnant Stella. Or maybe I was a thriving Teresa, but some stuff happened in my life and I'm back to being a searching Serena. Or maybe she's seeing herself like, okay, thriving Teresa is just a little bit ahead of me. I need to just be consistent in my behaviors and let go of perfection. Even if I'm sweating on a podcast, be on the podcast. Even if your makeup is sweating away, be on the podcast, right? So you can thrive.
Yeah.
Those are the things that she has to do and overcome to get to the next level. And
Mm,
that's her awakening.
mm,
That's her empowerment, right? Yeah.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so true, so true. And we often compare ourselves to others, and we are hard on ourselves. We don't give ourselves compassion. We're competing against each other. We're comparing, and we don't need to compete. We don't need to compare. Everyone's journey is their own journey. We're all at different phases of our life, and
Mhm.
just be,
Just be.
just be, because that's we
Yeah.
are human beings. So just be aware.
Well, in the
And,
United States, it's a little hard because we come from the Puritans and they had a work ethic to
mm,
work hard. And
mm,
then we had, people escaping European cultures coming to America and they had to work hard. So everything was like work, 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 work. Industrial revolution. There were no guidelines or rules on how long people could work. Children even worked 10, 12, 14 hours, right?
mm,
So
mm,
that's all we knew. We didn't know about you could be.
mm,
There's this woman, her name is Trisha Hershey. She's another African American, and she wrote a book called Rest is Revolution.
mm,
She created what's called the nap ministry. She was like, people need to take naps. We're exhausted from doing. And folks dishonored her. They belittled her. They
mm,
told her this was a stupid idea. And she said, no, I've seen women die, men die from working and working and working and not having a time to rest, to just be.
mm,
And we're just now getting to this. I mean, 2020, if nothing else, told us to just be,
mm,
sit down, be quiet, be still, stay in your house,
mm.
right? We were
Yeah.
afraid for sure because there was, when we saw so many millions of people die.
Mm,
But in the meantime, there was a revolution of ideas and concepts that were like you and I are talking on Zoom.
mm.
Nobody used Zoom
No.
really before 2020. You're on the other side of the world. You're a day ahead of me.
Yeah.
You're in tomorrow for me. But
Yeah.
we're on Zoom because somebody was like, I have an idea. Let's connect since we can't get out
Isn't it
from
amazing?
remote.
Isn't it amazing that you're talking with me and I'm in the future, in your future,
Mhm.
right? You're in my past, and
Right.
but we're still both in the present moment.
Exactly. So that right there, if no one else understands the time continuum, like this is it. This is it right here. Like it's all real.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
all real. But yes, all of that to say is just be
just be.
and vibrate a little
Yeah.
higher.
Yes, as Eckhart Tolle says, yesterday was a present moment, today is a present moment, and
Mhm.
tomorrow will be a present moment. So we
Mm.
only ever have the present moment. So just be in this present moment. Don't even think about what's going to happen 10 minutes in 10 minutes time, because you don't know what's going to happen in 10 minutes time. So just
So
be.
the concept of the word just, I'm going to do a little bit of pushback because it's not so easy for people to just anything,
Mm,
right? So
mm,
we have to show them.
mm,
We have to train them. We have to guide them. We have to reinforce them. We have to hold them accountable. Because if we say, just, like just meditate for 30 minutes, you want me to what? You want me to sit with my own thoughts for 30 minutes because you said so? You think that Simone Biles, who was flipping, I don't know how many feet in the air, got there just because? No, she didn't. So we have to give people grace. We had to give ourselves
yeah.
grace. Sometimes we forget that my journey has been over a decade to getting to
Mm,
here.
mm,
That was 2012 when I was starting the 42 things for my 42nd year. It's 2024. And I had to fall down and stumble many times. Just last year, I fell down again. And I have to remind myself, I have to give myself grace and say, it's okay, Dawn. Consistency over perfection
absolutely. Progress over perfection. Yeah.
and progress too. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you know, last week was a really busy week for me. I think I did something like 9 podcast discovery calls at an hour a
Oh my
piece.
gosh.
Um, and that's on top of a full work day.
Yes.
So I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting and because doing discovery calls with people in America is like, for me, it's
Hmm.
like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
And then I was doing discovery calls at night, which again would be 8, 9 o'clock. And the week before, we had the CrowdStrike issue around the world with technology, and I
Yes.
had worked the whole weekend. I did a 16-hour
Mm.
day on the Friday, trying to get a contact center up and running.
Mm.
Last weekend, I was absolutely exhausted. And you know what? Even though I had things to do, I just took compassion on myself, and I gave myself compassion, and I said, it's okay. Just be, relax, take
Good for
time
you.
out. And I did. And I heard Mel Robbins talk about this in one of her podcasts, and she talked about the brand, Nike brand, just do it. Just do it. And that word just, if you lean into that just, and if you keep practicing that by just doing it or just starting, if you don't start, you don't finish. So if you've got a dream, if you've got things that you want to achieve in your life, start now. Now's the time. There's no other time like the present. I got
That's one of
another.
the things I would tell, like if I held a yoga retreat in the past, folks would say, "Oh, I'll come to the next one." And I said, "There's no guarantee I'm going to have a next yoga retreat. There's no guarantee I'm going to have this program again. There's no guarantee that I'm going to do whatever I'm doing right now in the future." So, for example, those who said, "Oh, I was going to come to your yoga studio," I was like, "Well, you didn't," and I closed the doors. So if there is something that you want to do, you need to do it. Like you said, now is the time. Absolutely, now is the time. Not tomorrow, right now.
Right now. Yeah. And that reminds me of a song I wrote when I was in church years ago. I wrote a song called Now is the Time. Yeah. Which was it was an inspired song that came directly from God. I was on my knees at a meeting, didn't want to be there, and God gave me the song, and I ran home. And back then we didn't have things to record onto, so I rang my voicemail on the phone and left a message
Oh, smart.
and sang into it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
I took so what I did is I just did it. I had that inspiration, I just did it. Yeah. Let's move on to how movement like how does movement play a role in your coaching approach, and what are some practical ways that women can integrate that into their daily lives?
Absolutely. Because I was a yoga teacher, am still, I'm certified yoga teacher. And so my programming always have movement in it. The Awakened Woman Academy has what I created and added on to in 2020 called the Beginner's Yoga Course. And it shows people how to do sun salutations, and it breaks it down by poses. I call it Pose with a Purpose. It teaches meditation, different styles of meditation. It teaches a mantra, how to tap into your mantra, how to set intentions. So the movement is there. I believe in a holistic approach. We are mind, body, and spirit. So our bodies need to move. We do. When I work with people, we usually do some kind of spinal movement. And for those who are in the space of like, I don't know what to do. I'm not flexible. Yoga is actually a full system. It's not just movement. So yoga is one of the 8 limbs that Patanjali, the study that I follow, because there's other paths, but this one, it's called asana. The asana practice comes later. First, you got to be a good person. You got to really figure out who you are. And then you have to learn how to breathe. And then you move. So if there's nothing else that you can do, there are 3 things in your day I recommend. Bend over and reach towards your toes. So stand up, bend over, knees a little bit straight. You don't have to touch your toes, but reach for them. So you have blood coming to your brain. We need oxygen in the brain to think, to cool it down, to come up with thoughts. And then slowly walk your hands up your legs and reach your arms to the sky and stretch back just a little bit, opening up your throat and your heart and your abdomen. So you're stretching the front of your body. And then come back to the center and lean over to one side and then to the other side. And if you have time, twist. So it can be 4 things. So folding, bending, and reaching up high, like opening up your chest, that would be like a bend. Those will enliven your body because your spine has the nervous system is holding that inside of your spinal cord. And your nervous system sometimes needs like a spark or ignition. And when you move your spine, you awaken or you enliven your body. So if
Mm.
nothing else, do that. So every woman, man, and child who has the ability, and even if you're sitting in a chair, do some things just to move your spine. You can roll your shoulders back and take your chest forward, take your chin to the sky. You can twist and look back behind you. You can reach your arm over and do a side bend. So it doesn't have to be yoga, just some kind of movement.
Movement, absolutely. Yeah. Mm. And what about mindfulness? It's a key pillar in your program. Can you share
Key.
some mindfulness techniques and that have been particularly effective for your clients?
So the biggest thing for me is journaling. You
Mm.
have to get it out, right? So remember, I said I had to change my mind. My words were stuck on, I hate my life. So track where you are. We might not even know that we're cycling on something negative.
Mm.
And you don't need a prompt, just free write. The beginning of the day when you wake up, write some things down. At the end of the day, write some things down. And then go back maybe weekly or bi-weekly or monthly and read in your journal to see what were some of the thoughts that were stuck that I continued to complain about. Is
Mm.
it a certain person that I'm talking about all the time? Am I looking at myself in a negative light? Um, Am I not satisfied with my job? So you can see, because you might not even know, right? We don't always know that we're the negative one in the group. We're the person that people don't really want to be around. We didn't know that. So if you
Mm.
track it, that's the first way you can see where your mind is. And then you can start to move towards being a little bit consistent. So maybe one thing at a time. So if you're on a negative like body image, maybe you think that you're overweight. Instead of saying, oh, I hate the way these clothes fit, find one thing. Maybe it's a color, maybe it's your favorite shirt, pants, a dress, shoes, and wear that and start to see yourself as beautiful, handsome, attractive in some way, and then
Mm.
add on from there. So I had
Mm.
this one client, she was very low from retiring from her job. She was thinking she wanted to divorce her husband. She was having some challenges with her adult children, and she was like, I can't get out of the bed. And I was like, okay, well, I want you to put on your favorite pair of earrings. You don't have to put on makeup, but put on your favorite pair of earrings. So at least you have this one thing that makes you feel good,
Mm.
and do that. And then add on. I said, well, what else do you like to do? Maybe you want to listen to your favorite comedian or a song that you like to sing out loud. Or maybe you have 10 minutes to walk around your block, and that will start to change your mind. The second thing is, everybody's going to say it, but I'm going to tell you it's the truth. Practice gratitude.
Mm.
So if we're learning that we're negative, how do we turn it around? We have to realize that we probably, especially if you're listening or watching YouTube or on whatever app to listen to the podcast, you are privileged. There's something in your life that you should be seeing that you have advantage over compared to, I don't know how many other people in the world or even in the past that didn't have.
Mm.
So be grateful for that.
Mm.
Those are small little mindset shifts to help you start to change your life. Now, there's more, but those are two simple things that I think people can start with and feel like it can work. So, journaling,
Mm.
tracking your thoughts, going back and looking at them, and then creating a list of gratitude. There are apps that you can listen to, there are YouTube channels you can listen to. There's plenty of places. You can
Mm.
find a partner and you guys share daily. I've done this several times. Share daily 2 to 3 things that you're grateful for. It will make you go deep, and you'll say, well, even though it's hot and our air conditioning doesn't work, I actually have a roof over my head.
Totally.
I have
Totally.
windows,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100% agree with you. What advice would you give to women who are just starting their journey towards a financial freedom and entrepreneurship?
To again do some tracking. So assess, they call it IP. So your intellectual property. And this doesn't mean like you actually have like um trademarks or copyrights. The things that you have been creating in your mind or you've been doing, make like a list of all those things. Maybe you're really good at sewing.
mm,
Maybe you make cakes. Maybe you've been picking up and dropping off family members to church for the last 10 years. Maybe you're good at drawing, you're a tattoo artist, whatever it is. Like that can be turned into making money. You're doing it for free. People like your service or your product. Now we just have to monetize it. Ask people,
mm,
if I were to sell these cupcakes, what flavors would you want? And then say, okay, if I were to make 12 cupcakes, what would you pay for it? And then do your little beta test and go out there and see if your market is ready to buy what you have.
mm,
Or like the books we were talking about, Daniel Priestley. He talks about having a simple brochure. It could be a digital brochure, it could be a paper brochure. Send it out there, see what people are saying. And they're like, oh, I'm interested. And then say, I have a wait list. This product is coming. Why don't you sign up for it? And as soon as it comes out, you'll be the first to know. And then you have a list of people that you can send your product to that are ready to buy it already. Charge them, make some money, start paying off your bills. You'll get closer to financial freedom. And then you can join the Awaken Woman
mm.
Academy, and I'll show you more. But those are two small tips that you can start with. Track to see what intellectual property do you have? What are you creating? And then put it out there.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Yeah. And then you too can come and join me on this podcast and share your story.
Right. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Exactly. All righty. Two more questions before we go into some quick fire questions. So how do you help women create sustainable habits that lead sort of to a long-term personal and professional success?
I am so I am down for keeping track of things, right? If you track it, you know that there's some progress. Um, I'm thinking of another client who she was ready to do all the things. And I said, let's just dial back and do one thing at a time. And once she dialed back and did one thing at a time over a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, she was able to see some progress. And then she was able to add it in. So they call that single tasking. Instead of multitasking, do one thing. So track the one thing, get
Mm,
really good at it. And then if you don't like it, you can tweak it, you can change it, you can stop doing it, but you won't know unless you track it. So it has to be one, because you'll be distracted. You know how, like, when you're going to the doctor and they want to do like or a dietitian or a nutritionist, and you're saying you're not feeling good and they want you to do an elimination diet, and you slowly take one thing out of your diet at a time to see maybe you're allergic to dairy or gluten or nuts or certain vegetables, but you won't know because you just put them all together and you're always eating them and you don't feel well until you
mm,
start to track your diet. That's when you can see what doesn't work for your body. So
yeah,
whatever you're doing, you got to track it,
yeah,
write it
yeah.
down.
Yeah, we did this in business where you have, when we do quarterly planning, we have three
Mhm.
columns. We have start in the first column,
Okay.
continue in the second column, and stop in the third column. So what do you want to start? What do you want
Oh,
to
I
continue
like
with?
that.
And what do you
Okay.
want to stop? And just track that. Start,
Look at
continue.
that, Anthony. Thank you. I like that.
There you go.
I
You can use it
do.
in your program.
I will.
And
I
then
will.
then you get to a point where you go, okay, hey, look, this is something I want to start, and this is something that I want to continue with because I'm enjoying this. And there's a guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, Daryl Anker, who channels Bashar, and he says, do, and I
Mm.
think other people say this as well, but it says, do what excites you. When you
Mhm.
do what excites you, it creates an emotional state, and that emotional state sends out the energy into the quantum field, and
Momentum.
then
Mhm.
the universe. Then you are the universe. Then when you send that energy out, more of that comes to you. So
Right.
it's important to know, what do you want to start? What do you want? What are you excited about that you want to continue with? and what don't you actually like doing anymore, that you could either stop doing, or if you're running a business, that you could employ someone else to do for you.
Oh, for sure, 100%. But that's later in the program. We'll talk about that later. But
Absolutely.
most of us, most of the women that I know, we are people pleasers, especially African American women. We are trained up to be good daughters, to listen and to be quiet and not to cause any ruffles or discomfort. So she's doing all of the things at one time,
Mm,
everything,
mm,
and she doesn't know what she's good at. She doesn't know what she likes because she wasn't allowed to have these feelings,
mm,
right?
mm.
Like when you were sent to an ashram, were you allowed to tell your parents you didn't want to go? When you were there, were you allowed to talk back and say that you were uncomfortable?
I had no choice. I was 7 years old, and I literally
Right.
stood there with a big grin on my face going, this looks like fun.
Exactly. Yes,
Whereas
exactly.
my cousin, who was supposed to be there with me, he was crying his eyes out, and he ended up leaving. Um,
Mm,
he was a lucky one because he got to go, and I had to stay. So,
right.
although I wouldn't be the person I am today without those experiences. And yes, some of those experiences were traumatic, but I've healed through them. But it has taught me so much about
Mm.
myself and so much about growth. It's allowed me to develop a mindset where a mindset of a champion, where no matter what, I'm just going to keep pushing through until I get to where I want to be, wherever I desire to be. Another thing I was going to say was it is very important in your life and at work and in personal life is to continue to celebrate small successes. Every time you achieve something, doesn't matter how small it is, celebrate it, because the more you celebrate it, the more you're going to build confidence and motivation in yourself.
I didn't know that women weren't celebrating until I had my first yoga retreat in 2018. And there was a woman who later became one of my yoga teachers at my studio. She had just completed her PhD. And I said, wait, what? You didn't tell us this. And I said, did you have a party? She was like, oh, no, no, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal that you finished your PhD. I said, it is a big deal. And as a group of women, we celebrated her during this time because she needed it. And other people needed to celebrate her. She needed to receive, and we needed to give. And it changed the environment of that night. And that helped me see that, oh, if I have a group of people, if I have a community of people, and there is someone who is maybe struggling, I have to help her see that she is worthy of being here, of being celebrated, of being championed, of being held up, of being honored, um, of being pushed to the front.
Mm, mm,
She's worthy of that.
absolutely. And the theme of this episode or this podcast is champion your life and champion
Mm.
your greatness, because you are great. No matter what anyone else says, believe that you are great. Back yourself and believe in yourself. And that's what I've always done for myself, is that no matter what, I look, to give you an idea, I did not pass anything at school. I failed miserably. Um, I left school at 16. But one thing I did, and so I've got no qualifications in terms of like certifications, but in terms of experience, I am highly qualified in terms of experience. And the thing is, I've always backed myself and I've always believed in myself. And I've always done, no matter what it was, if even if I didn't know how to do it, I said, I want that opportunity. Give it to me. I'll do it. And I found a way to do it, and I did it. So when you back yourself, when you believe in yourself, and you lean into it and give it a go,
Mhm.
you might fail, but it's feedback, and you learn from that, and then you do it better next time. But please celebrate your successes, because that is what keeps you going. That's what motivates you and builds that confidence in you, builds your self-esteem. Yeah, your self-worth as well. All right. Last question before we kick into the the quick fire questions, rapid questions. What is your vision for the future of women's empowerment, and how can individuals contribute to this movement?
Mm. I want I want women to feel celebrated. I want them to be financially free. I want them to create global businesses that impact more and more people. I want them to have legacies for their family. I want them to know that their ideas are valid, that they can. And I don't want them to be stopped by their age or their gender or their binary, non-gender, if their race, whatever, wherever they are, their education. I don't want them to feel like they can't. I don't want them to feel like they're unqualified. So I believe my vision is to see like women in leadership, women in even if they're not in the forefront, but women who are creating change. Because if you have the financial stability, you can help your political candidate run for president,
Mm,
right? If you have the financial ability, you can help clean up the environment. If you have the financial ability, you can create schools and systems so people are educated. If you have financial ability, you can have clean water and even urban neighborhoods in the United States. If you have the financial ability, your children can continue your legacy on. So that's my vision. I want women to stand up, to hold their chin up, to be heart first and believe in themselves.
mm, mm. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure interviewing. We haven't finished yet, but it's been a pleasure having you on this podcast. And I'm gonna have to get you back for some more episodes, and
Oh, my
go a little bit
pleasure.
deeper into these things. It's been very fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. The first question.
Okay. Deep swallow.
Would you
Yes.
like to take a sip of water or
Yes, I
take a
get some
deep
water. Let me
breath?
some
Yeah.
water.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Are you ready,
Yes, sir.
Miss Dawn Rivers?
Am I what?
Are you
Am I
ready?
ready?
Yeah.
I guess I am. Go.
Yeah. Okay. How do you define success? And has that definition changed for you over time?
Ooh, how do I define success? I think I define success as you creating something that helps someone else and that
Mhm.
they found it, right? That you put it in front of them and whatever their problem was, your product, your service, your warmth, your listening ear, it helped them. And has my definition of success changed? Absolutely, because a lot of my success was based on um, pleasing my employer. I remember when I was a middle school librarian, and it was not my favorite position, but I worked there for 5 years. And my principal was like, "You would be a great cheerleading coach." Y'all, I never cheered in my life. I'm not that coordinated, but I was like, "Me? Okay, I will do it." It was a challenge with the students and with their parents and with the organization that needed to be revamped. But I did it because I wanted to please someone else. And
Mm,
if he said I did a good job, then I was successful. So
yeah.
no, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I was listening to a podcast back in 2022. It's going through a very rough time at work. And Jay Shetty said he don't need validation from anyone else, because that's exactly what I was looking for, is to be validated at work by my manager. And it completely changed my life. From that moment, I stopped looking for validation, and I went, I did well. I did awesome. Validated myself. So if you're listening to this, don't worry about what other people think or say. And what's important is what you believe. Yeah. Second question. Who has been your greatest inspiration and why?
Well, it's changed over the years,
Hmm.
but my most recent greatest inspiration, I would say, for the past 8 years is Beyonce. Beyonce is an inspiration because I think she's a genius, literally, and not in an exaggerated way of explaining the word. She comes up with revolutionary ideas. She is always creating something no one else ever did before. And her work ethic is just so powerful. And then she goes and rests. But she's creating things in the background and then she brings them forward. And there are a lot of criticism that comes at her. There are a lot of people who, like have these ideas about how and whatever she's doing. But she doesn't give a lot of thought, energy, or even time to address that. So
Mm.
I watch her, I study her, and I'm like, okay, the marketing is amazing. The concepts that she creates are amazing. And then the production and the execution. Sorry. Yes, she's my inspiration.
What is something that you believe in that others may disagree with?
Ooh, you want me just to choose one? I had a conversation with a man, and this was just recent, maybe 2 months ago. And this kind of threw me, and I was like, you know what? I agree. He said Jesus was a master manifester. And I said, tell me more. And he was like, I don't believe that Jesus performed miracles. I believe that Jesus manifested what he was thinking and desired, and it happened. And I was like, you know what?
That could be true.
That is a powerful concept.
Mm.
I agree. So I wrote an email to my newsletter. I had several people unfollow me. There you go.
Yeah.
Because why not? Why do we have to believe it's a miracle that only Jesus could do? He literally said in the Bible to his disciples, apostles, followers, whatever you want to call them, that you can be more powerful than me.
Mm.
You just have to believe. Is that not manifesting?
And what is manifestation? It's having the intention, putting the thought out there, and then
Right there.
creating
Yep.
that, right? We are created in the image of God. So we are creators.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's one of the things that people, yeah, I
absolutely.
don't care.
Yeah. Okay. If you were to go back and give your younger self,
Oh God.
you're still pretty young. You're still pretty young.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's the filter.
Yeah. If you, if you, well, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, there are so many things. There are so many things. But I would say not to wait. I waited on a lot of things, relationship wise, personal wise, financial wise, traveling wise, business wise. I waited. And I'm like, you don't have to wait. What if you didn't wait? What if you started now? So I would tell her that.
Mm,
Don't wait.
absolutely. Just start. Just do it. All right. What is one message that you would like to share with the world?
Hmm. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy.
100%. Yep.
That's my message.
Let's just say that again. You are worthy. In
Mhm.
fact, let's say together, I am worthy.
I am
I am
worthy.
worthy.
I am worthy.
Yeah. And listeners, if you're watching or listening to this, believe that you are worthy. No one else can take that away from you. you believe that, you say that every day, and it will change your life. It's not just an affirmation, but when you what we were speaking about before, your words have power, and as you speak that truth into your life, the truth will prevail. I'd like to ask you, if people who are listening to this episode or watching this episode and they want to get in contact with you because they'd
Mhm.
like to learn more about your program and what you're doing, what's the best way they can do that?
It's real easy. My name, dawnmrivers.com.
So the dawn coming, rising of the dawn over the river. So remember that.
Yes. And my
.com.
middle name is Michelle, but whatever you need to think of Dawn, mother effer. That's what some people say. You're Dawn, mother and Rivers.
Well, you could say dawn, Mother Earth, rivers.
However you need to remember the M, put it in there. They can Google me. My Instagram is Dawn M Rivers as well. So if you're on Instagram, you can send me a DM. Let's talk, and I can share some resources for you.
Absolutely. We'll put those links into the description of this podcast so they can click on it and come visit you, check you out.
Great.
And we'd love to get you back for another episode. And we've got some other things we've been talking about, doing some webinars, and so excited about that. So if you've been watching this and you've got some gold, some inspiration out of this, you've been inspired, then please share it with someone else. You know, if we've been given a gift, we need to share it with the world. Each one of us, as we share, we are helping other people. Just to give you an idea, I recorded an episode around embracing uncertainty, and I'm currently going through a bit of that myself because we're going through a bit of a change process at work. And I shared my episode with 3 people, and all 3 of them came back to me and said, I listened to your episode and it's completely changed my perspective on what change is. So each one of us has the ability to change someone else's life. So if we're not doing that, and if we're not sharing, then we're actually being selfish. I want to encourage you to champion your life and champion your greatness. And I just want to say, I believe in you. I think you're worthy. I believe you're worthy. And I love you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Have an amazing day.